In this video, I'm going to explain to you the most critical concept in all of personal growth and spirituality, expanding your consciousness. So I'm going to explain what this actually means and exactly how to do it. Welcome back. My name is David. I help people heal and awaken by sharing lessons that I'm learning on my journey of awakening. I've been a personal development junkie for the last 6 or 7 years of my life, and expanding your consciousness is the single most important concept that I've learned through all of this. Expanding your consciousness is beyond anything you can imagine. It's like switching up and improving the operating system of your entire life. It can't truly be imagined what it's like to be at a higher level of consciousness than you are currently. Because at your current state of consciousness, you're not capable of creating an experience of a higher level of consciousness until you actually do. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to explain the importance of this concept to you. The thing is, you should assume that I know nothing throughout this video. You should assume I'm wrong, but you should test it for yourself. Try the practices I'm going to share with you in this video. And that's the only way to really see. To help you understand what it means to expand your consciousness, first let's define the word consciousness. And the way that I'm going to be using it in this video is simply awareness or direct experience of the present moment. To expand your awareness or to expand your consciousness means to increase the depth and the frequency of your awareness. So awareness isn't black and white here. It's not like you're either aware or you're not. It's more like, how aware are you? There's many different degrees of awareness. Here's what I mean. You might be aware of the words that I'm saying right now, but you might not be aware of the feeling in your left foot. Just like you might not be aware of how deep or shallow your breath is right now. Or you might not be aware of the feeling of the air on your right arm. But notice as soon as you put your attention there, it becomes real for you. It becomes within your experience. That's what it means to be aware of it. But also depth is important. So we can be aware of the feeling in our right foot right now. But if we sit there and focus on it, it can become more real in a way. It can become more pronounced. You'll have a greater clarity of the feeling that's within your right foot. So what's actually happening when we're going from a lower level to a higher level of consciousness? Well, we're simply becoming more aware of everything in this present moment. At a lower state of consciousness, we tend to identify with our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. We tend to feel those and say, oh, those are us, and we label ourselves. We label that as part of us, as part of our ego. But when we expand our consciousness, we are able to see them as just part of the present moment. And we understand that that's not actually us. At a higher level of consciousness, we understand that we are awareness. We are the experience. So you might be wondering, how does expanding your consciousness actually solve your problems, though? Well, to understand this, we need to understand where dysfunction comes from. And dysfunction actually comes from unconsciousness. And what I mean by that is just lack of awareness. See, when you're doing things and you're thinking things and you're feeling things, but you're not fully aware of them, this allows our mind to perpetuate destructive patterns. Because when we're unconsciously doing these things, they're unexamined. It's like the ego is running the software in your life. And you may have noticed that this creates many problems. The fundamental problem is that the ego is an illusory identity that feels separated and must maintain itself by maintaining intellectual consistency, meaning it wants to stay the same. It wants to be itself as it is. That's how it survives. That's its survival strategy. But notice that a survival strategy is very different than wanting happiness and love, which we all want on some level. So this creates many contradictions within your mind. This creates a lot of inner conflict. In many ways, this journey of awakening is about examining your ego, seeing it for what it really is, and choosing something else. And you do this piece by piece. And when you make decisions from a conscious place, they are more loving towards yourself and towards everybody. They are more intelligent. Expanding our consciousness is not just some helpful concept for personal development. This is essentially the force that's going to completely change the world. Higher consciousness is the direction of progress in society. And the thing about consciousness is it's also the same thing as love. In the grand scheme of things, everything is one. Consciousness and love are two sides of the same coin. When you become more conscious, you become more loving. More consciousness and more love is exactly what's needed to heal everyone in the world, including you watching this right now. The healing you need ultimately boils down to love. And love is the feeling of unity. Love is the feeling of being whole and complete. The thing is, we all have different dreams, different ideas of what wholeness and completeness would be for us. Whether it's, some people find it in a romantic partner. Some people find it in spirituality. Some people find it in drugs, alcohol. But we're all searching for this love. We're all searching for this higher state of consciousness that literally makes up who we are. When we are expanding our consciousness, we are becoming whole. We are becoming healed. That's why this is the most important concept in all of spirituality and personal growth. This is sort of the end all to real growth. This is what it all boils down to: becoming more conscious. If you maintain a higher state of consciousness, it becomes very difficult to actually do self-destructive behavior because you're going to be more aware of what's happening and you're going to be more loving towards yourself. So, for example, let's look at somebody who smokes cigarettes. This is obviously a very destructive behavior, yet millions of people do it. And they know that it's bad for them. That's not the problem. They're aware of, the negative health effects. So why do they still do it? Because they're not actually fully aware of experiencing the negative effects of the cigarette. There's been some incredible studies done where scientists have basically told people to, or helped people smoke cigarettes mindfully. So when they would feel into the sensations, taking the cigarette out of the pack, lighting it up, noticing the sensations in their body, and then tasting the cigarette, deeply tasting it, deeply feeling it in your lungs as you drag it. And then also feeling the effects after. Maybe they have tightness in their lungs, or maybe they have a headache when they're feeling the withdrawals of the cigarettes. So you just become aware of all these things, and you don't have to change your behavior at all. And what happens is people are actually very likely to quit cigarettes after doing this. For another example, let's look at negative self-talk. What if the next time you started maybe saying some negative things to yourself, that instead of identifying with those thoughts, you actually just watch them and just notice what they say? What you'll start to notice is, oh, this kind of feels terrible. Like, I don't like saying this to myself. And you're just going to notice that. And the thing is, when you are conscious, you are learning. When you are unconsciously identified, you are the ego. Or at least you trick yourself into thinking that you're the ego. And notice that this is not a trick that you can do by thinking. This is something beyond thinking. This is awareness. You're actually not doing anything. But when you become more conscious of self-destructive behavior in your life, when you become fully aware of it, you're like, I'm not going to do this. You get it on a visceral level. Because the smoker only had the concept in their mind. The person with the negative self-talking, or the negative self-thinking, only had the idea that, oh, negative self-talk is bad. But they weren't actually experiencing the direct experience of the behavior itself. That's the difference here. In order to perpetuate destructive behaviors like smoking and negative thinking, your ego has to basically steer you away from what's going on. And it does that by distracting you. And you basically turn a blind eye to what's actually happening. You're not fully experiencing it. And when you're not fully experiencing it, when you're not fully aware of it, you can't change it. For example, I've struggled with emotional eating for most of my life. And one thing I consistently do whenever I want to eat junk food or sort of binge eat more than I should, I'll put on a show, maybe YouTube or Netflix, whatever, and I'll distract myself from actually fully experiencing how my body feels from that food and the taste of the food. I have to distract myself because it's destructive, and I know it's destructive. But if I were to be fully conscious while I did that, I would understand that it's destructive. But the thing is, when you're distracted, you're not fully conscious, which is why it's such a powerful ego defense mechanism. So how do we actually expand our consciousness? Well, it's really simple. All you have to do is choose to become aware right now. Feel into the sensations in your body. Notice the sounds that you hear. Notice the sights that you see. Notice your breathing. And now when thoughts come, all you have to do is notice the thought. Be careful not to identify with the thought. Just notice. You can maybe say, oh, that's interesting. Or yeah, I see that. I noticed that. And just let it go. See, when you're no longer identified with your ego, you're no longer its slave. You can just see the thoughts and let them pass. Let them pass right through you. So you might be thinking, okay, yeah, that helps me become aware right now, but like, how do I become more aware in general throughout my life so I can get the real benefits that you're talking about in this video? Here's the thing. Notice that you're looking for a shortcut. But consciousness is not a shortcut. You have to choose to become aware over and over and over and over. And your brain doesn't like that because your ego is lazy. It's looking for all the shortcuts that it can take to benefit its own survival, of course. And something that requires constant effort in a way, or at least what it perceives as effort, is not very, it doesn't sound very nice to your ego. But here's the thing. We're talking about the entire operating system of our life here. If there were anything worth committing to, what would that be? In my eyes, expanding my consciousness is the most important thing that I can be doing in life. And if you do try this, to become aware over and over and over again throughout your day, you'll notice that it is difficult, especially at first. And you will probably struggle. I've struggled for years with this. But here's the thing, it does get easier. You can think of awareness like a muscle, and just like any muscle, when you exercise it over and over and over again consistently, it becomes stronger, and you develop stronger awareness. You're able to be more deeply aware, and you're going to be able to do it for longer periods of time. So you're going to reach new levels of awareness, and your baseline level of awareness is going to increase the more that you practice this. So this is the most fundamental thing that you can do to expand your consciousness, because it's going directly to the source. It's realizing you always have a choice to be conscious right now in this moment, and taking advantage of that freedom. Now, it's very easy to forget about this concept and just kind of slip into unconsciousness throughout your day, or maybe practice it once and then totally forget about it for the rest of the day. And yeah, that's very normal. So what you want to do here, if you're taking this seriously, you want to set yourself up for success. The way that you can do that is by creating cues around you in your environment to remind you to be conscious. Here's the thing, you can never be too busy for consciousness. No matter what you're doing, it applies. Whether you're watching a YouTube video, you can be conscious while doing that. You're reading a book, you can be conscious. You're sitting out in the woods, you can definitely be conscious. You're doing homework, it doesn't matter. Everything you do is a conscious experience. It transcends everything. So you want to remind yourself to be conscious as often as possible, because to truly expand your consciousness means being conscious in all circumstances. And what better way to learn how to do that than becoming conscious while you're trying all the different things that you always do? Because meditation is extremely helpful, but that's only when you're, for a lot of people, just when you're sitting on the ground or sitting on your couch or whatever. So it takes longer to sort of seep into the rest of your life and integrate this consciousness into your life outside of your meditation practice. So here are some ways that you can create cues for yourself. You can use sticky notes. You can change your phone background to something that will remind you to be conscious every time that you see it. You can set up reminders on your phone, and every time you hear that sound, then you just become conscious right now. Again, just feeling into your body, becoming mindful of what's around you, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, and just noticing your thoughts, noticing your feelings. That's all you do. And although it takes maybe, it took me like 10 seconds to explain what it means to actually become conscious, you can sort of do it in an instant. Because remember, this transcends language. It's just aware. And the more that you practice this, the easier it's going to be for you to go into a deeper state of consciousness faster. So again, the most important way to expand your consciousness is to set up cues that remind you to be conscious over and over and over again, as often as you can. The more often you do it, the more conscious you'll be. You could think of this awareness practice as sort of an integrated meditation, because the essence of meditation is simply awareness, and you're bringing that awareness into your daily life, which for me has been one of the most effective techniques that I've found for expanding my consciousness. So in addition to this integrated meditation, traditional meditation is also going to be extremely powerful. Pretty much any type of meditation practice will help you expand your consciousness. But 3 of my favorites that have gotten me the best results are do nothing meditation, concentration, especially Kriya Yoga concentration, and body awareness meditation. So the last technique I'll mention to help you expand your consciousness is shadow work. And I have videos on this that you can check out for more information. and some specific exercises to actually do this work. But the essence of shadow work is simply becoming aware of what you're not aware of, becoming aware of sort of the lies that you're telling yourself and the icky, scary parts of your mind that you don't really want to explore. And it's bringing awareness into that. And the thing is, you have to understand that this shadow makes up your ego, first of all, and it has like this grappling hold on your entire life. And the mechanism for that is fear. Fear keeps you in this box. And here's the thing about fear. Fear is like darkness. When you shine the light on it, it no longer exists. When you investigate your fear, you'll find that it's founded on lies. And that gives you the ultimate power of freedom. The last thing I'll say is that the capacity for a conscious human being is unknown and virtually unlimited. We can create absolutely anything we can imagine, both personally and collectively. We can create any kind of society we can imagine. And right now it might sound too good to be true, but understand that we are working towards higher consciousness as a society. We are evolving as a society. And you can see it happening. Nobody was talking about this even 10 years ago. Almost nobody was talking about this. Yet now here it is. So many people are talking about this. Millions of people are interested in things like this. Things are changing on a global scale. The future is bright. We are headed towards higher consciousness and love. And I'm excited. But it starts with people like you speaking out. People like you reaching out to a friend. People like you becoming more conscious themselves. Your responsibility in this society, if you believe it's the right thing to do to create a better, more loving society, the most important thing you can do is to become more loving and conscious yourself. If you are on this journey of becoming more conscious and loving, I would love to connect with you. Leave me a comment. Let me know how this shows up on your journey. And if you want more videos, subscribe below. Leave this video a like. It helps more people see it. And connect with me on Instagram. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. And have a beautiful day.